The following program contains language, images, and/or subject matter that may be objectionable to some viewers. Viewer discretion is advised.
Direct from Albany, New York, it's time for the News Media Zone. With your hosts, Ed and Dave. Tonight, a look at this week's new film and DVD releases. And a chance to win free movie tickets with the poster campaign. And now your hosts, Ed and Dave.
Hello, and welcome to the New Media Zone. Ed and Dave here. Ed and Dave with you with the final episode in our Wacky Work Stories series. A series that we thought might have gone 2 episodes, and we were hoping at least we had enough to fill one out. But with all the wacky stories over 30 years of state employment, which is where we worked, we're going to recap of the Department of Labor I was in by this time, and you were in the motor vehicles the whole time.
Yes.
And we left off with some horrible restroom stories, restrooms from hell. So let's get off of that.
Yes, please.
And let's move to the Sexcapades.
Oh!
My number 3 story selection, the Sexcapades. Bunch of sexy stories.
Well, I will say this is all I'm going to say. If you're doing a countdown like from 10 to, and number of importance, or the ones that you consider the best would be number 1 and number 2. My Sexcapade stories?
Yeah.
Clearly number 1.
Clearly number 1 for you.
Yes. Not even going to go into it, but...
Well, the second one is a sex story, and the first one, I would rather have a sex story, but this number 1 is so out of control, it had to be number 1.
Okay.
But we're going to do the Sexcapades. We had this coworker, Lori, who was a bigger gal, and I saw her hanging around a lot with a very tiny Hispanic guy. He looked like the Hispanic hood in American Graffiti.
All right.
So, and again, where these people just come out and tell you what they're up to. One time she told, I see you hanging around with this guy. Oh yeah, we were out in the parking lot in my SUV getting it on the other day. Okay, that must have been interesting logistics with this tiny guy and a bigger gal going on there. Just,
well, good for him.
Yeah. We had this secretary, Sue. And this was in the 90s. And I don't think this was the style. Very short skirts or dresses that went just about under the behind.
Under the cheek line.
Were those popular in the 90s? I think she just had these from somewhere.
I don't recall. I recall someone wearing, good tight clothing and some short skirts. I don't remember what era it was. It all blends into one.
It does.
At this point.
Well, the shirts weren't exposing enough. One time I walked by the office where she had her secretary office, and she was hiking the skirt up, and the skirt was the bottom of the dress was way up, and she was pulling up her stockings or whatever she had on, tights. Yep. So I saw everything you could see that was not being covered by this dress.
Wow.
And then twice, I remember this, she had a dress on that was kind of like crocheted.
Yes.
Or fish netting. Is kind of like that Cheryl Teague's.
Yeah.
And clearly visible that there was no brassiere on. And that one only made it twice because I think she was told not to wear that anymore.
The censors got to her.
Yeah, she couldn't wear that one anymore. And she had a boyfriend there, and he was canned. He thought it was a good idea to store a lot of porn on your work computer. And not only store it, he was sending emails to the girlfriend. Hey, look at this one. And that's
maybe we should try this tonight.
Yeah, that's how they were finally caught, I think.
Oh boy.
And there was a stairwell. I don't know if you had one of these. I think you had a section, that special section. There was a stairwell, and it went down the full 5 flights.
Yeah.
But to get to the cafeteria downstairs, you had to come out.
Yeah, and a walkway.
And a small doorway.
Yes.
Went down with 2 flights of steps.
Yeah.
When you opened that door, it was like hearing the rats scurry. You could hear, sometimes you hear a buckle or something, pants being pulled up. You could identify the sounds as they were rushing out the bottom door. There was one platform on there where people were getting it on. And you had plenty of time to maneuver which way when the door opened.
Yeah, you over the years, you get to know the good hiding places. So I'm told. You knew where you could go. Like we would go down these sets of stairs. And again, you'd open this door and you'd go down 2 more. And if you turn to the left, you would be going into the cafeteria. If you turn to the right, there was a parking garage, and there were many twists and turns in the parking garage where you could hide, and no one would see you unless they specifically walked in that direction, which 90% of the time they had no reason to do that. Mm-hmm. So there was all sorts of, I don't know, things you'd find on the ground. And there were many
DNA evidence from
there were also many floors of just files where no one would go down to. Once in a great while you'd need to go down there, and sometimes you'd bring a friend. Hey, help me search the files.
Oh yeah,
you could do all that stuff back in those days before cameras.
Yeah, now you gotta be aware there's cameras all over the place.
Ubiquitous everywhere. Everything's a camera now. But anyway, yeah, there's all sorts of weird things that could happen.
Sex stories.
Yeah, that I've heard about.
There was people getting it on the roof. I didn't witness this one, but many people knew about the roof area.
Wow.
And then this one supervisor always wore bulky clothes. You could never see anything. There was not an inch of cleavage.
That's very appropriate.
Very appropriate for the office. I'm walking around the 4th floor one time. I would try and get up there and get some exercise and walk. And around the corner, I see this supervisor coming with this shirt unbuttoned down below the bra. So there was cleavage like a Russ Myer movie. Plus you could see the bra and a little bit under.
Okay.
For a whole summer. And I don't know what was going on. I knew this was one of these people I could have, hey, not the word you used earlier about someone that got new implants, but I could have said, what happened here? The boobs are on display here for a whole summer, so I don't know what was on, and then after that it was back to I don't know.
It was too hot. It was the summer.
It was a hot office, it was there. And then again with the 2, people coming out and just tell you any story.
Yeah.
I don't know what the context of these stories were. But these 2 women came out and told me experiences they had with anal or backdoor sex. Now, these were 2 people I would not expect them to have any kind of sex. But they were telling me about their experiences with anal sex. I go, holy cow, really? And I wish I had asked, with your husband? Because I knew these 2 husbands didn't seem like they would be into that kind of thing.
I was told many a story over the years of people's escapades. I was a good listener, Ed. Mm-hmm. I would listen to their stories, and whatever. Some of these women were very attractive, some were not. But I don't know. People, for some reason, and I thought it was oddly unique to me. I figured, they're telling me. I guess I'm someone they trust with this information. Mm-hmm. And I never told anyone else. I would never go around and say, Ethel just told me about how she enjoys the Hershey Highway.
Don't look, Ethel.
I never would pass along that information.
No,
so I thought maybe they respected my ability to keep a secret, and they're okay with expressing their lewd and disgusting behavior to me. But apparently, it's commonplace.
Uh-huh.
I'm sure they weren't only telling me. People told you. I don't know why. I never said a word to anybody.
Yeah, I never told anybody where I lived, let alone
I wouldn't either.
Any of these stories. One time I mentioned I had a pool, and apparently nobody else in this office had a pool. People were...
When are we having a pool party, Ed?
That's what I was hearing. I'm not inviting you over. I'm barely thrilled to talk to you here. I'm not inviting you over to my house for going to the pool.
Oh, man.
Number 2 on my list.
Oh, get going.
And then after this, you tell your...
I got my flood.
Yeah, the flood story. This is the Fickle Finger of Fate story. Now, I told this on the show a while ago. This was, well, number 2 of the most outrageous things. This is another story where a woman tells you way too much information. And this is a story where you're not titillated like some of the other ones. This is the one where your jaw hits the floor like you can't believe what you're hearing. There was a new employee, this Mark, and he would go out and sit in the hallway on the radiators out there and read a book on his break.
Okay.
Now, there was plenty of room out there, but for some reason he sat right in front of the male Johns. He could have sat in the middle. He could have sat towards the female ones, but he sat towards the male ones. And this Jill started talking to him when she was going down to the bathroom. And apparently she thought there was some kind of spark going on here. Enough of a spark that she went home and told her husband that she had feelings and she was going to act on them.
This is based on him sitting on the radiator reading a book.
Right.
Okay.
And he provided some kind of interest that she felt something was going on. So I don't know what goes into your mind that you go home without being on one date or one sneak into the hallway or anything. Nothing was going on other than he talked to her a few times out in the John. So she goes home and declares she's going to act on these feelings. So we come to find out that, I don't know what the feelings were, but when they were getting intimate.
So she was successful in getting him to the intimate phase.
They were in the intimate phase, but nothing progressed to the point there was actual coupling going on.
Gotcha. Just
heavy petting.
Okay, gotcha.
Nothing was going on, so I guess she was questioning why nothing went further than this spot. And then one time he asked her for a favor. He thought it was he wanted her to put her finger in his ass. And I remember when I told this story the first time you hit the floor because I was trying to be very delicate.
You weren't being delicate now.
No, but this is what was requested. I have to provide the information to the folks at home. He wanted just the digit put into the behind there. He did not, and I don't know if he ever gave an explanation why.
Do you need to?
Oh, why?
These are not. You don't make this request and then expect to have to answer questions. Why do you want to do this? How does this satisfy you? You just either do it or you don't.
But why didn't he want the actual sex and he only wanted this?
It's what he likes.
There was something up there. So to speak.
Gerbil.
And it was weird because they would only get together like in the Kmart parking lot. They would be fumbling around.
For that?
No, just the fumbling.
Did she provide the digit activity?
I believe she did.
Okay.
What else is she going to do? There's nothing else to do. It was the most bizarre story.
Jesus.
And it's funny because when this finally didn't work out, and she would go back numerous times, I'm going to go back with him now. And then I'm tired of him.
What happened with the husband?
Oh, the husband left.
Okay. after the feelings for this guy she's going to act upon, he's like, all right, well then I guess we're done.
Well, the problem is, and the why she probably felt like she could go and say, I'm having feelings, the husband was apparently spending a lot of time with this very younger girl.
Okay, so there were issues.
She must have had an inkling that something was going on, that she could do this.
So the marriage itself was not horribly successful.
No.
So something was missing, and that's how this transpired. Apparently a digit was missing, but...
So you have a story here that we did on the show also.
Right, and I'm going to just briefly outline it. You can show a segment of the original.
Uh-huh.
But it was, we had an office on the top floor.
I will say, as bad as my office stories were, when I saw pictures of what you had going on, I could not believe this was allowed.
Which you will see shortly. We had an office, it was the top floor, and whenever it rained heavily, it would flood. Water would come into the office, the carpeting, everything, through the ceiling, through the doors, wall, whatever. You would have this massive flood. And it got to the point where I would be home, and I'd know it was raining heavy, and I would say to myself, I wonder if I'm going to hear the big floor fans when I get off the elevator.
Oh, no.
And you would hear, you would open, the doors would open, and you'd just hear this, and you knew there were floor fans all over, drying off the carpeting. I came in one day, my desk covered in plastic, because everything was dripping down on it. There was a hazmat suit given to me one time as a joke, and I put it on, and people came over and were taking pictures of me sitting at my computer with a hazmat suit. The ceiling was soaking wet where they had to take down the tiles. We had these big tarps up.
I was going to say,
New Pig was the name of the company.
The apparatuses, they came up to divert this water rather than actually fixing the problem.
Right. And they had these tubes running. They were going to have them run across into a slop sink on the other side of the hallway, but then they realized there wasn't enough of a drop. They would have to go down and up. So that didn't work. We had big buckets, garbage cans filled to the top with water dripping and pouring. It was unreal. It was went on, Ed. Not for weeks, months, if not. And this was even before I worked there. And now this was probably a good year and a half or so that I was there that it would constantly happen. And I was told, this has been going on from well before you came here.
How long were you in there?
In
that office with this flood?
It was it was probably a couple years that it would happen. It didn't happen all the time, but it happened. Yeah. It happened at least 10, 12 times I was there. But eventually they moved us out of the office and they brought in IT. But by that time they had fixed whatever the problem was with the roof and all this other stuff. They had done a repair to it. But it was the single most bizarre experience I've ever had, and it just got to the point where it was funny. You'd open the elevator doors and there's that sound. Okay, we flooded. You'd slosh around at work for a while with countless buckets filled to the top with water and New Pig, tarps and tubes running. It was a Franken office. There you go. And then they talk about the campus with their sick buildings.
Yeah.
Jeez.
That tax was sick, and of course ours wasn't labeled sick, but obviously the vile air. And I'll put a few things here, which was documented in the last day of work. Look for that on our page. I have the number one story here,
right.
The wackiest story.
Sit back and relax and enjoy this one. Go ahead. What is it?
You can add if you got any similar.
We'll see if it
I don't think you have anything similar to this. I got to take a sip of water before I get to this.
Okay. Thank God we're not going to show 5.
No, this will be 4.
All right.
The Macho bank robber.
Oh.
This is the story. I would rather have the finger be number 1 or a poop story.
Well.
But this is so out of control, it's got to be number 1.
Okay.
I remember seeing on the news that there was a bank robbery at the Trustco Bank. And you remember they filmed that movie?
Yes, Pines.
Behind the Pines, and they was robbing this. Trustco was knocked off after that movie every other week because they showed you how to rob it in this movie. So I saw this Trustco in, where was it? Guilderland, I think. or Bethlehem. It was knocked over.
Okay.
So the next day I'm coming into work and there's cops all over the parking lot and they're stopping cars before you go in and they're asking you, did you see a guy dressed as a construction worker in here yesterday? No, I didn't see anybody. So the guy that robbed the bank was dressed up like the construction worker from the Village People. And apparently he changed his clothes in our parking lot.
Ah.
And it was not that far away. Why is he changing his clothes in our parking lot? Well, we come to find out his wife works in our building. And our supervisor, Tony, hired him and hired this girl, his wife, as one of the friends and family plan.
Okay.
So there she is. She was in our section for a while, and then at this point she had moved on to another section. So the cops are looking around, and they stop by the main supervisors later in the week, asking questions. And there's Tony right next door, and he's hearing all this going on. The cops are looking for him, or coming for him now. So what does he do? He gets on his phone and texts the guy, the husband of the, he's probably friends with the husband too, texts him that the cops are on to you. And
so Tony is aware that this is the individual?
they were talking to his supervisor.
Oh, he overheard
He
it.
overheard it.
So, but he knew.
Yeah.
So instead of calling the cops, he just waited, didn't do anything. But then when he overheard that talking to someone else, he said, "Oh, I better warn that guy." Okay, gotcha.
I know it's in the moment. Your friend, he robbed a bank.
I would have said, listen, give me some. Buy my silence.
And you're hearing, oh, they're coming for you. So I guess you put the plan in your head, oh, I'm going to warn them. But why? Because they're going to get them anyway.
Right, they are. Haven't you people ever watched the first 48? They're going to get you.
And if you had thought a couple steps ahead, we got a payphone downstairs at the time.
Yeah.
You could have called and warned them and not getting involved. But no,
Leave a trail.
Yeah, he left the trail there. So, of course, he texts him, and the guy takes off. And he's gone. They can't find him. So, the next week, we come in. Oh, Tony hasn't been here for a few days. Where's Tony? And nobody knows where he is.
He's in the clink.
I said, I know where he is. I saw him on the news last night, the mugshots. There's where our supervisor is. He's in on the robbery. So luckily, he would have been in big trouble if this guy had done anything on the loose. They picked him up in South Carolina.
Oh, wow.
The bank robber. And, of course, now our supervisor is on the news. We were always on the news for something going on in this building. So the guy got 9 years, the bank robber.
Okay.
The wife left him, of course, and the
wife was not involved?
The wife was not involved.
So she didn't know he did this?
No, she was not in on it. He just took it upon himself to dress up like the Village People and go rob a bank. And you would think, I guess because it wasn't related to work, you would think someone would be canned from work for taking private information that he heard and overheard aiding bank robbers. But no, you don't lose your job for that at the state.
No, you just get moved to another office.
So he had hindering prosecution charges against him, which were reduced to disorderly conduct. And I remember the name because it was plastered over the news for Victor Shear.
Okay.
And this is in the news. You can look it up. And he was a bad boy. And he is out.
Okay.
Because I looked him up. He couldn't be on Facebook after being out. He's there. It's the guy with the who was dressed up like.
So Tony overheard the cops saying,
yes.
"We know who it is.
It's this Victor Shear
dude."
Yep.
So he said, "Ooh, hey, Victor, the cops are coming for you for, I guess, you robbed the bank."
Yep.
All right, and then he ends up with just disorderly conduct. That's a pretty good. It's a pretty good deal, I guess.
Yeah, he's lucky that the guy didn't kill anybody on the loose or do anything. He probably would have gotten a lot of worse charges.
Yep.
So that's number one. Bank robberies. Did you have that? Bank robberies and aiding, supervisors aiding, and
no, we just
the wife working?
We just had the one doing the drug deals on the phone.
Oh.
That was that.
That reminds me from my honorable mentions. We had somebody running an escort service out of our 5th floor and using the phone for those purposes.
No, that's always smart. You make sure you use the state equipment when you want to do something illegal. Use the government's goods. Use their phones, use their computers, because you won't get caught. Dummy.
An honorable mention, I think this would have been number 11, the Banana Man.
Uh-oh.
This was a guy that was very well dressed. He had kind of Oxford, little, very shine shoes.
Nice.
He would sit in the hall with a banana and peel it also gently and almost like fillet the banana in the hall every day with the banana. And when I was leaving on my break, I would see this guy with the banana. And then after that, after the banana, I would see the shoes in the stall, in the bathroom. And every time I would go in the bathroom, there were the shoes. And he spent a lot of time in that bathroom. So I would always make jokes. Geez, that guy's in the bathroom. I said, oh, you're paying too much attention to this guy. Later on, he would come to tell somebody I knew that he enjoyed Posh Puffs with the lotion because they were good for his self-pleasuring. This is another thing. You just tell, and this wasn't even one-to-one. He told the whole office that he enjoyed the Posh Puffs, the Banana Man.
Well, they have lotion in them.
They do.
That's good. It doesn't cause as much chafing.
And we had the supervisor when I came in, this Chris, and her office was next door. She was in the back. Behind, she had a partition put up to kind of hide what was going on back there. And there were 2 desks back there. And there was this Mike who was sitting right next to her, and I didn't know who the hell it was. He didn't appear to have anything to do with our office. And apparently he worked on the bottom floor. I never found out why this guy was allowed to sit next to her. Apparently they had a little thing, and they were all behind there, and she would comb his hair and all kinds of things going on back there. It was apparently allowed. I don't know what was going on.
You know, you can't do. I used to go up to some of our, which you can't. God forbid you do it now. Can't do it now. But every once in a while, I'd go up to one of my data entry clerks, and I, give him a little neck massage. You just like, and you know what they would do? Oh, it feels so good. It feels so good.
They enjoyed massaging.
Just a quick little bit, because they're sitting there, they're typing. It hurts. And I thought, I'm just a nice guy. You know who you can do that with and who you can't. So you do it. Nowadays, I mean, when we first did our first sexual harassment class, I came back from that class and I said, everything they said not to do, I have done.
And you checked off every box.
You don't think it's offensive, especially when you say it or do it and they laugh, or they play along with you. Like, oh, this is fun. It's just fun. I'm just being funny. I'm just having a good time with you. You're doing the same thing back. Nope. Now you find out after you take that first class, you're like, I'm not opening my mouth ever again.
I just have one final thing. They moved us to Troy, Joe Bruno.
Oh, yeah.
And there was no reason for us to go over there other than he was trying to populate Troy.
Yeah.
So he brings us over to the Troy atrium. And I remember there was a whole ceremony. The businesses came in. They gave us Troy bucks, these little coupons that we could use at the various businesses. The only problem with this idea, apparently Joe didn't know, we got a half hour for lunch. We can't populate and move about in Troy. There was one guy that set up a deli upstairs in the atrium with a hot plate where he would cook the breakfast, and that's as far as we got. I think a business closed down 2 weeks after we got there because they thought we were going to save Troy by moving us there, and then a couple of years later, everybody came back.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah, Bruno's good for his.
Thank Bruno for that.
Yeah, I don't care what people think how wonderful he was. But he had some backdoor dealings and shenanigans going on, too.
So, there you have it. We have relived 30 years of horrors and fun and wacky stories in 2 hours, 4 episodes. So we'll see you next week with a look back at probably a year in the past.
Yeah, and the next time you see me, I'll have long hair and a bushy beard because I won't be back for a while. And get your hiney checked.
Right. We'll see you next time.
The New Media Zone has been a Cable 2000 production.